evening, everybody. Welcome back to the PSGL YouTube channel. The wait is finally over, and we are about to get underway with our placement shows where we'll be covering the top 4 tiers of both the PlayStation and PC platforms. My name is Dan. I'll be hosting this evening, but I will not be alone. I've got two very special guests joining me. We'll go with this man first. He is a content creator for PSGL and a former F1 commentator. We've got Mark Alamonda. Mark, how are you doing?
Yes, really well. Started with PSGL back in season 18, and well, it's gone from strength to strength since there. Can't believe how much it's grown since then, and it's great to see so many very interested eyes keenly in the chat, looking forward to the reveal of these tiers. So can't wait for it all to get underway.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got 183 people viewing at the moment, all raring to go. But we've got one other guest, a man who I think everyone knows very, very well. He's a 7-time PSGL world champion, and of course, he is one of the league directors. We got the man himself, Connor McDonough, Big C. How are you doing today?
Yep. Hello, everyone. Good evening. And yeah, I mean, another season. It just flies by. One season, an anniversary season in season 30. So yeah, it's just crazy. It's just flown by. I've been in PSL for like 9 years now. So still going strong as Mark touched upon, bigger and better than ever. I mean, in terms of initial signups, we're breaking the records every season. I think if we counted all the initial signups, we're around 1,000 really. So, and that was without any major advertising. So yeah, PSGL is bigger and better than ever, and yeah, it's all down to thanks to my fantastic team of directors, fantastic commentators, guest leading that. Obviously, the content team with CC and Alamonda doing all sorts. So yeah, we're in a great place, and yeah, obviously nights like this are always exciting to see where everyone's gonna be racing and yeah, what's gonna happen this season. So yeah, thanks for joining us, and it should be a good 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, of course, we've got a great team really working behind the scenes at PSGL, and that work is going to be paid off this season, which plans to be bigger than ever. But I know that everyone is raring to go and get into some of these predictions. We're going to start with F4 and F3 on the PC platform. So without further ado, here is your F4 grid. And there it is, everybody. You can see your 20 drivers on screen as well as your reserves. The commentators are going to be Joshua Burke and Psycho. But I'm liking the look of this grid. There are some familiar names that stand out to me. Yane Turpkov, Dazed Rhombus, and content creator himself, Bushy Ant. So I'm really looking forward to this grid. I'll go to Mark on his opinions first. What are you thinking of this grid?
Yes, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that we're struggling to get 2 tiers in the PC, but now we've got outstanding quality in the top 4 tiers, and some of these drivers arguably should be in F3 perhaps, but such is the depth and quality we currently have. I mean, in terms of drivers, I've been sort of keeping an eye out for. Who might pull off a little bit of surprise? Yeah, I've liked the look of what I've seen from Ravon. I think he's one who could be a surprise package this season in F4.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of unknowns in this grid, but of course there are some very well-known drivers, so it's going to be an interesting mix for them. Connor, how about you? How are you feeling about this grid?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously our lowest no assist grid, but on PC the standard is so high, so got some great quality in there. So yeah, it should be exciting to see how things get on. I mean, I'm sure that the observant people have noticed that on this grid and most of the PC grids, we're going to be having at least 8 to 10 reserves. And obviously, we took this decision because last season the attendance and commitment from PC drivers, particularly compared to console, was quite poor, and every PC tier had over 30 drivers each. So yeah, if you like, a lowly reserve, you will get a chance to race. But obviously, we had to take this measure to ensure that, let's say, the grids are full and that it's worthwhile for people because we're having too many races cancelled and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, you may be a lowly reserve to begin with, but you will get an opportunity to race. It is 15 races long, and obviously we've got a few break weeks, so it is a long time. So yeah, just be patient for now. And yeah, that's basically the reason why, just to get it in that early, why all the PC tiers have at least 8 or 10 reserves. So yeah, it should be exciting, and it will be streamed as well, which is great news.
Yep, you can catch that stream Thursdays at 8 p.m. as previously mentioned by Joshua Birch and Psycho. I believe both newcomers into the PSGL commentary sort of family, I like to call it. So I am really excited to see what they have got in store. But without further ado, you've seen the F4 grid. Let's move it on to F3. So here you are. This is your F3 grid tonight. We've got some very talented drivers who arguably could be in F2. I think we actually have some F2 drivers dropping down into this grid. I'm looking at the names like Christian Sendel. I'm looking at Christian Hausman, Marcus Towler. I know he's putting in a shift as well. And there's a lot of brilliant talent, including PSGL's finest, Carter Lundy. I think there's a slight typo on there, but I'll go to Connor first this time. How are you feeling about this F3 grid?
Yeah. Again, it's another quality grid. Lots of top drivers. The two Christians will be very impressive. Also, Leonard as well, Paul as well. I'll try and say his last name. I think those guys certainly be the ones to watch. I think Carter Lundy as well. On his day he does have the pace, but it depends, how how if he throws his toys at the pram or not. So I think those are the sort of guys to watch. And obviously, Bryn will be the league admin as well. He's the F4 champion. Obviously, yeah, Bryn's improved quite a lot and does a really good job as admin. So. Yeah, again, hopefully this season we'll have a bit more commitment and, a bit more attendance. But yeah, that's what I'd say about F3.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that you mentioned Bryn there because I was going to get onto him. He is one of the most committed drivers, I'd say, in terms of the admin side of thing as well. And, of course, PC F4 champion. A lot of expectations riding on his shoulders. But let's go over to Mark. Mark, how are you feeling about this grid?
Yes, I mean the quality just stacks up. F4 is going to be a very closely contested grid, but F3 is definitely a step up. And yeah, you mentioned the two Christians, Leonard and Paul, very, very strong drivers. I think some of the others like Jake Finch, Morgan Ball, they've definitely all earned their places, the two drivers. And Jorge Alberola as well has impressed in the past. So I think this is kind of the gateway to the top two tiers, which are very difficult to get into in PSGL, such as the esports level quality that we get. So a lot of these drivers, they'll be looking for opportunity to get into those top two tiers, and they're going to have to turn up and perform every single week to get that opportunity.
Yeah, I like that you described it as the gateway to the top tiers. You've got a lot of up-and-coming stars in this F3 grid. You can catch them Thursday at 7 p.m. streamed by Paul XY Tricks and Sam Thompson. I know Sam Thompson very well. He's been a part of PSGL for quite some time, but I believe that Paul is a newcomer in the commentary family again. So a lot of new talent coming through onto the PC platform. But that is it for F3, oozing with talent and breakout stars just waiting for their opportunity. 7 p.m. on Thursdays. But that brings us to the end of our first few grids. Of course, we've seen PC F4 and F3. Next up, we'll be headed over to PlayStation, of course, where it all began back in, I believe, 2013, if I'm not mistaken, 2012. Maybe one of you two can correct me, but it has been quite a long time, and I think PlayStation really does have to be credited for that.
Yeah, I mean PlayStation. I think it was actually even before my time. They started on Championship Edition back in the PS3 GL days. So yeah, even before I was around. So yeah, a long history.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of generations of PSGL drivers coming through the ranks and moving on. But of course, we will head over to that grid now. So let's start us off with PS4 F4. Here you go. The grid is on your screen. Mondays at 7 p.m. and I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces that I've been a part of. I've known for quite some time. I'm looking at the likes of Terror Racer. I've known him for quite some time. Loney as well. Gustav and Slimbo. These are all very, very committed drivers, and they've got that experience as well coming into it. I know that having that tenure in league racing does mean quite a lot, but I'll go the way of Mark this time. What about this grid?
Yeah, this looks like a really good grid to watch early doors on Mondays coming up. Some of these have have been sort of plying their trade the last few seasons in the Sunday leagues, but have now made the switch to no assists, of course, because all the Monday grids are no assists in the top 4 tiers. So some of these drivers, it's going to be a big learning curve for them, because it's one thing learning no assist. It's another thing entirely to race against fellow drivers with no assist, because there is so much more to think about, so much less room for error. So for these drivers, it's going to be all about, settling in, finishing those early races, and then trying to build a campaign from there.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is about getting the ground running early. I'll go the way of Connor now. For this F4 grid, who are you looking out for the most? Who would you say?
I'm not too sure. I think LRB could be one to watch. I know he's really, really strong around Monaco, so I think that could be, watching around Monaco. I think he could be really challenging for the victory there. But I think, yeah, Lonnie, as you said, got a lot of experience. Jesper is being demoted from F3. They've got a point to prove, but it's fair to say, F3, F4, even F5, there's a lot of overlap in terms of quality. So, like, if you win F4, there was a chance, if you dominate F4, you could be in F2 in the future. So, don't be too disheartened. There's opportunities even mid-season. So, yeah, it's a good couple of drivers, and yeah, like I say, these Monday tiers are always entertaining to watch. So yeah, should be good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, you can catch PSF4 Mondays at 7 p.m. The commentators for that is, I believe it is just Jared himself, aka Neon. So make sure you give some of these drivers love on a Monday evening. But let's head over now to PSF3. Here is the F3 grid on your screen, and this is where I really start to notice a lot of familiar names. I'm looking at the likes of Will Murdoch, Karem Demirtas, and Joey RC as well. I know a good few more drivers, but this is a really exciting grid filled with really, really experienced drivers, especially Will. I believe he's a multiple. I think he's won F2 before. I'm not too sure if it's multiple times, but Connor, about this grid, let's get your thoughts.
Yeah, it is really tasty. Like you say, you got some really experienced, fast, really great personalities, such as like Will, Kerem, and obviously Joey, after his ban, when he's came back with a bang, obviously, more focus on university and that sort of lavish lifestyle leads. But, it'd be interesting if Joey puts more time in, whether, he can get promoted. And also, I think shout out to Jesus Cameron Dowds as well. I think he's only 12 years old, and he dominated F5 last season. So I think... yeah, I think Cameron will be one to watch as well for the future. And also, I don't know what's happened, but I can't really find Kryptonite's name in F3, so I'm not sure what happens there. But I don't know where he's ended up. But yeah, quite a tasty grid.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused about that one as well. But maybe we'll see him later on in the show. Hint, hint. But Mark, let's go to you. Who catches your eye the most on this grid?
I think a lot of the names you've already mentioned. I think the two TCG drivers are definitely dark horses on this grid. I think they could cause a few shocks. Certainly at some of the street circuit events, Trinity I've seen go well at those ones. So yeah, possibly one to battle for the win at Monaco, which I'm sure most drivers are looking forward to, if anything to go by. But yeah, I think some of the reserves are actually pretty good as well, like Mathieu and Reznik. I think they could potentially have some good opportunity to reserves as well. So yeah, I think F3, like the PC tiers, they're trying to get into the toughest grids to get onto, and that's the top two. And I think they're more than capable of doing that, some of these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to seeing this grid in action on a Monday at 7 p.m. You can catch that stream with James Head, a commentator I'm very familiar with. We used to do a lot of coverage together back on F1 2020, and as well as Otaku Logan, I believe. Or it's just got Logan on the sheet here, but I know he is a very dedicated commentator, so I'm excited to see what those guys can do. But without further ado, we're going to jump past F2 and head straight to F1 at this moment in time. So, I want to see a bit of excitement in the stream chat. We're about to go to our top PS tier. Let's see you all light it up in the live chat and see who you're going to tip for this grid. Come on, I want to see it all. Ben B, I'm seeing a lot of in the chat from Chile. mentioning his name. Maybe he's just saying it aloud. Ben B, baby, as well. It is the big one. Let us go to PSF1. And here it is, your F1 grid. I'll read through every name individually here. So we've got number 1, Matthew Alder, Ardapple Gamer. That's Ben B that everyone's been raving about. George Nader, Daneko, OP Fuzillo 97, Casper 24 F1, VSR Zander, OP Jack Eater 37, Shazoo Waters, Asicom, Shazoo Ogiano, FVR Ismix IBS, SXT Lars, Cornet CDB, ORC Paxi, then OP Fede FM15, VFabby, WOR Gill, Shazoo Suku, and TF1 Hamilton. And then your reserves for this grid, we've got 4 of them in the name of VRT Daniel, H Eagle, Jensen R12, and Shazoo Brock. How about this grid oozing with talent? I'm looking at a lot of those names, and I can see a lot of these guys winning races. Let's get your opinions, Mark, as a former commentator on this grid. How excited are you to see this on a Monday?
Yeah, this is a strong grid. I mean, of course, quite a lot of the top 6 who were on this grid last season have moved up to PC. But, some of the replacements, Gil, that stands out, the War Driver. He, of course, is a former PSGL F1 champion. And after his switched fully to no assists, went down to F2, did really well there. Now has returned to the top tier to chase that top tier title, a second one. But given what we mentioned in terms of this is still the same F1 2021 game and how well that Matthew Alder, aka formerly known as Blizzard, has already won 2 championships and came fairly close to winning his third. He has to be the favourite to win the championship this season on that basis. But, I'm hoping to see better things for Casper this season. I mean, his misfortune last season was just unbelievable. I mean, pretty much every time he got even a sniff of a podium, some sort of calamity happened to him. And then looking around the rest of the grids, obviously VSR Zander, who was the season 28 F2 champion, had a pretty decent opening campaign in F1. Sort of grew stronger into it. Then Benjamin, of course, I think Benjamin will be the main contender with Alder for the championship. But George Nader, he had a really good start to the season, then kind of patchy, but then came strong at the end. So I think it's a really, really good grid. And yes, it's kind of in the shadow of the PC tier now for obvious reasons, but it's still a must watch. The traditional top tier, Monday 8 o'clock, I will be watching.
I've certainly got to agree with you there. There's a lot of talent on this grid, and with a lot of drivers headed over to PC, it really gives an opportunity for talent who might not have been in the limelight all too much with some over-looming presences. It gives them their opportunity to really shine. But let's head over to our league director, Big C. How are you feeling about this grid?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of the end of an era. We've lost like Hughes, Duncan, Jordan, Will G, Sam Corby, Jack Laverty as well. So, we have lost, like, say, some of the household names on PlayStation. But I guess, times do move on. It's time for, these next crop of drivers really to write their names in the lights, as it were. There's a lot of attention on PSGL and a lot of people will be watching. So, obviously, there's challenges going on PlayStation as well. So, with Matthew, Benjamin, and George all in challenges, maybe some of these other guys can really make the most of that when they're probably not practicing as much. So, yeah, it is a bit of a new era. Maybe, it's not as, let's say, exciting or as, it looks as good as it was in previous season, which is, it's a fair comment. But, it's still an exciting competitive grid. And there's a lot at stake because PlayStation is a great platform to move on to bigger and better things. I've seen the likes of Wilson and many others do so in recent seasons. So yeah, I think Blizzard, Matthew Alder is the heavy favourite, but Blizzard isn't the type of driver really to, let's say, consistently deliver every week, especially with challenges in the background. So I think it could be quite wide open.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Of course, you mentioned it's a new era and new history books must be carved into the stones. But I'm really excited to see what this grid can do on a Monday evening at 8 p.m. Your commentators for that are Luke Etheridge and Aidan Carter. And I know both these guys very well. Luke Etheridge, I believe this is his 3rd season now commentating over F1. And then we've got Aidan Carter join. I believe he was in the PSGL esports event on PlayStation, and he really was shining there. So it is brilliant to see such a star-studded commentary lineup. But now you've seen F1, we can we can reveal what F2 is looking like. So here we are. Okay, here is your PSF2 grid, and I'll read out every name individually like I did last time for PSF1. We got WOR Baraka 12, WOR Reese, Shazoo Kazizzle, CC Brain, Shazoo Cohen, OP Dino 12, FBR Lewis VLT, KJ Elting 7, TTG Thivard, FBR Santeri, ASY 696, SXT Yannick, OP Ricky, Devon 3043, Shazoo Tom, WOR Ablaze, WOR Falk, Kryptonite, Las Vegas 16, and Shazoo and Terra, Andrea. Sorry, we've got a few reserves as well. We've got IFR Pat, IFR Legend, then IFR Bolin, Shazoo Jax, and Nicolo Soro. A lot of names catch my eye here. Especially a certain Louis DuPont, Mr. Kryptonite in F2. Connor, how about you explain to us how he's got there?
I mean, Louis DuPont is a consistent, ever-present performer. I think he really deserves a chance in the second tier. To be fair, I think maybe on pace sometimes he does lack, but I think on consistency and in terms of point scoring, he's always right there. And also, we need a new league admin for the league. So, Louis DuPont, there is a bit of privileges for his hard work behind the scenes. So that's why he got the promotion to some extent. But I do think, to be honest, expect him in the top 10 of the standings. So yeah, that's he will deliver. I can assure you.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. He wouldn't be in, despite favourites could be played at some point, he wouldn't be in there for no reason. He's got a lot of experience in PSGL, and of course, being a league director, he's got that maturity to back him up. But what about your opinions, Mark, on this F2 grid?
Well, as someone who's been a commentator for the PSGL grids for a long time, got to mention the legend that is CC Brain. I mean, he's been hereabouts at the top end of PSGL on the PlayStation side for so many seasons now. Tier 1 and then F2 for a number of seasons now. So he deserves mention. Always a competitive, tenacious driver on race days. Looking at the rest of it, there's obviously a heavy warp presence. Risa, Blaze, and the Falk I've seen perform very well in the past. Vivard of TTG, I think could do some really good things. Cohen of Shizou. So yeah, this is a really, really strong grid for F2. I mean, not that many have actually been promoted from F2 directly into PS, so it's not that dissimilar to what we saw last season. So I think it's going to be a lot of ferocious racing between this grid as they attempt to get themselves in the shop window, so to speak, for a top tier berth in F1 2022.
Yeah, absolutely. This could be a stepping stone for a lot of drivers, but you can catch this F2 grid on a Monday at 7 p.m, commentated by Jess Games and Owen White. And I actually would like to give a quick mention to Jess. She's put in such a shift in organising the commentary. Of course, head of comms at PSGL really does put in the work. I think a moment of appreciation for her in the chat is due. And then we've got Owen Wyatt as well, very experienced former F1 commentator. He's been with F2 for the past season or two, so he is very experienced in PSGL. I'd arguably say that this commentary lineup is one of the most experienced that we have coming into this season. But you can catch this grid on a Monday at 7 p.m. But that does bring us to the end of our PlayStation tiers. I'll bring you back over to me because we're going to take a short break from reading out all of the names. We're going to bring two of our drivers that we have got coming in later. They'll be revealed later on. We have got the likes of John Evans and Wilson Hughes. And Big C, why don't you make the call? Who are we going to bring in first?
I mean, might as well just bring them in together, like good mates. So yeah, get them both in.
Why not? So let's pull them both in to the call. John and Wilson, can you hear us?
Yeah, we can.
Lovely indeed. So I think we'll start with John. Coming into this one, of course, you're headed into Well, you're headed into this season, very excited, and you've got a lot of pace. So let's see. Let's hear from you. How are your thoughts coming into this season?
Well, I mean, I've done well to get into this grid. To be fair, I mean, it's going to be so stacked, and the amount of esports drivers that are going to be there, it's going to be pretty nuts. So, considering how bad I was at the start of this game, I feel like there's probably going to be 3 or 4 academy drivers or challengers drivers in there. So, to get into tier 1, it's a pretty big achievement, to be fair. So, I'm quite happy.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course, we'll get your thoughts on last night as well. Of course, we had our esports invitational, and we saw a lot of competitive drivers in that there. Out of all those drivers on that grid, who would you say is going to be some of the biggest competition?
I mean, Josh Adohu, he's pretty terrifying. I mean, he'll be up there. But I mean, my main fight will probably be against the challengers guys, though. They'll be my main aim. But obviously, every esports drive you can beat when you're at my level is a bonus. So yeah, but I'll see what I can do. I got challengers as well, so trying to balance it out will be hard. But I'll just see who I can beat. Anyone I beat is a success.
Yeah, absolutely, and I would say give some words to your competitors, but I'm seeing a lot of beg in the chat. I think
Oh my
that's what people are calling you. So let's get your thoughts on what they're saying. Maybe give some words to them.
Yeah, well, I don't see half of you in tier 1, so have some of that. Oh my god, seeing the chat is so bad. Oh my god.
Ego of the year.
What? No, Wilson's was worse. But anyway.
But yeah, just a quick question from me, John. Would you say you're now faster in outright pace than Jake and Wilson?
Oh yeah, comfortably.
Yeah, well, there we have it. There we have it, guys.
So John Evans, everybody, we'll be seeing a lot of him coming up in this season of PSGL. Thank you for joining us, John.
Cheers.
Right, I think we'll move on next to Wilson Hughes. Of course, let's hope you're not getting called a beg in the live chat, but let's get your thoughts coming into this season.
Yep, I'm excited. Obviously, challengers is the main priority for this season because of that's what matters. But I'm looking forward to it. I don't think I'll be doing like all of the races because of challengers. Certainly at the end of the season I will, but yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course I'll pose the same question that I posed to John about last night. You were right up there at the front. I know John was a little bit further back than you, but let's get your thoughts on who's going to be some of the biggest competition coming into this one.
In PSGL, it's always going to be like people like Yarno and stuff. So I don't think you can really say. Obviously John Evans, he's just better than us all, so he's gonna be right at the top, winning races, I'm sure. I just seen last night. Oh wait, sorry, I got disqualified. Sorry. So that's not gonna be happening. But yeah, it'll be pretty good. I'm sure we'll see a few random people who pop up, but the usual names will be up there.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course, well, there's some words going in the live chat that I won't read out. So how about some inspirational quotes? I know you've got them you've got plenty of them. Let's hear one for your competitors.
You want an inspiration, right, Dan? You're being a John now. You're begging it completely. So that's just not.
But yeah, just a quick question for me, Wilson. It seems like, despite, if you have a few bad races, it seems like you're very resilient. Like you always believe in yourself. So, you got any, let's say advice for other drivers to, your journey from F3 to potentially being in esports? Do you have any advice, let's say, for drivers in lower tiers?
Just practice, really. Put hours into the game. You kind of need to not go outside a little bit for now and then. Enjoy your weekends. Yeah, but yeah, just practice, put hours into the game, and you'll get there eventually.
Yeah, but what about your mentality, though? I think that's something that maybe sets you apart from, let's say, people your age. It seems like you're very strong. People don't get to you.
I don't know. I guess it's just how you're brought up. I get called a few words now and then, but yeah, I guess it's just the way it is. Like when people say things, that I think it fuels me more than demotivates me. So it definitely helps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of sheep, but Mark, we ignored you when it came to John. Do you have any questions you want to pose to Wilson here?
Well, actually, yeah, I think something I wanted to ask you, Wilson, is how different is life sort of competitively on the PC in terms of how you approach it compared to what it was when you were winning those championships on the PlayStation?
Well, I think your mindset changes. Like when you're racing people like Yarno, Barry, all these esport drivers, you don't go into it thinking you can win it. It's more of like going into it trying to survive, get a top five, maybe a podium, here and there. But and definitely in general, the competition PC is a lot more difficult. You can be the quickest in PS4, Xbox, but as soon as you come to PC, there's always going to be someone who's quicker than you, and it definitely raises like the bar for yourself. But in general, PC is just better. You can say PC is quicker and all this in general, but the actual drivers are so much more talented, and that's what I've noticed.
Well, brilliant stuff then, Wilson. It's been a pleasure to have you in the interview room before we reveal where you will be placed. But thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, Dub, thanks.
Dub indeed.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye bye.
See ya.
Right, so with that, everybody, I think we're about to get to probably the nitty-gritty of this evening. We're going to head to PC F2 first. Let's get some excitement in the chat. We've got 276 live viewers at the moment, and I'm seeing a lot of activity in the chat at the moment. I'm really pleased to see the turn up we've had tonight, but I think without further ado, we are going to head over to your PC F2 grid. And so here it is, Thursday at 8 p.m. What a stacked grid we have got here. I'll read them all out individually. Joost Noordijk, Tom97, Chan Akinci, Ruben Pedreño, Sam McBride, Antoine Desilewski, Andreas Dormeyer, WOR Neon, Norbert Jakob, then Jack Laverty, Simon Perugny, Luke Smith, Andrei Tarabukin, Duncan Hoffland, Jordan Poland, Sam Corby, Will G, Thomas Ronhart, Jack West, and Connor Muir. And then we've got a whole heap of reserves that have been put into F2 this season. We've got Paris Burrell, Jeffrey Ritchie, TF10, Oscar Villacampa, Ulas Ozildrim, Ikabayanya, Flores Veers, Primoz Miklovic, hopefully I've said that right. I believe he used to go by Cookie, Jonas Rutten, and VTRL Lenny PNR. But let's go to Mark first. How are you feeling about this grid?
I mean, what a step up for those PSF1 drivers who've gone up. I mean, Sam Corby, older viewers will know him as Game of the Best back in the day, who had, arguably the best driver to never have won the PSGL F1 title on PS because he was runner-up twice, came very close, particularly in season 18. And then, you've got Used, who had an outstanding campaign in season 29 to take that PSF1 title and make the step up. Tom97, of course, very heavy presence on Twitter and YouTube of his channel. And Ruben Pedreño, very talented. Sam McBride and Anton, Andreas. I mean, there's some really good drivers on here. And, Jordan and Duncan, they pushed Used very hard at times last season. Duncan, a runner-up. In season 28 in PSF1. So Will G, of course, I mean, compared to his season 28 campaign, massive improvement in season 29 on PSF1. So I think he definitely deserves a shot in the F2 grid on PC. So I think that's been really good for PC. I think that's a really nice group of drivers that they've got from the PSF1 top tier. They've earned their spots, but now they've got to prove that the faith that PSGL put them was worth it, because if they don't perform, there's a massive gaggle of drivers behind them, very talented drivers in the F3 grid in particular, who will take their spots. So they've really got to hit the ground running as quickly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, we're seeing a lot of drivers coming over from PS4, Duncan Hoffland, Jordan Poland, Sam Corby previously mentioned, of course, and Will G2. And then Xbox drivers as well. I think it is key to mention Thomas Ronhard, Jack West, Connor Muir. They're all making what I believe is their PC debut. I know at least Connor Muir was a part of the Xbox PSGL tier back in season 28 or something, so it was quite some time ago, but it's great to see these drivers, they're getting a shot here on F2. Connor, I'll come to you next. How are you feeling about this grid?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where to, look. It's just full of quality, but I think Mark touched upon, let's say, the key players, the key ones. But I think Ron Hall versus Yoast will be the most interesting one, because obviously Ron Hall probably is the top Xbox driver, winning WOR, and obviously Yoast won PlayStation PSGL. So that'll be interesting to see, is PlayStation, the best behind PC, or is it actually Xbox? So that'll be quite interesting, as I just said. But I just want to talk upon, let's say, the technical decisions that we made regarding F2. So in the case of, let's say, Jeffrey, Ulas, Floris, and Primos, they're all in the Challenger Series, and it's going to be Thursday, so there's going to be a lot of clashes, hence why they're reserves. In the case of Via Campa, Paris, and Ecart, we decided to put them in reserve, mainly because their attendance isn't that great, hence why they are reserves. And obviously Jonas signed up late and Lenny's new to PSGL, so that's why we got the reserves there. But like I say, a long season and there'll be plenty of opportunities. But yeah, I think Ron Hall probably is the favourite, because you should be still focusing on PlayStation and the Challenger Series. But I think Luke Smith, deserves a lot of credit for how he's improved, and I think he is really one to watch moving forwards. So yeah, it should be really exciting. And we've obviously got a great commentary team in Chris and Jacob. So yeah, good stuff.
Yep, of course. Connor's said about the commentary team. They'll be streaming Thursday at 8 p.m. We've got Chris Buxton and then Jacob Hancox, two very experienced commentators. I know Chris has been around the scene for quite some time, and I had the privilege of commentating alongside him for the first part of last season. And I know Jacob Hancox, he's been on the PC side of things for quite some time. You can catch them, of course, as previously mentioned, on Thursday at 8 p.m. But I think now, finally, it is time that we move on to, let's say, the main event, where the championship is really going to be fought the hardest for. We're going to go to PC F1. My voice already going in excitement for it. We've got 276 live viewers at the moment. Let's see some excitement in the live chat. I'm seeing Duncan is he's excited for it. A lot of competition is going to be had on this grid. Let's see. Come on, I want to see some of the some messages coming on through, because it's a little bit awkward when we're at this point. We've got here we go. We're seeing a lot of Sues in the chat, but I think I will end the waffle at this point, because I know everyone is going to get a little bit angry at me if I don't get on with this. So here we go. We are headed to PC F1, starting it off with the Mercedes duo of Jarno Otmir and Danny Moreno. Of course, two-time PSGL champion and two-time F1 esports champion as well. Jarno Otmir coming into this one, and then we got a bit of a juggernaut of Danny Moreno, of course, coming into the esports scene last game on F1 2020. He really had his breakout year at Mercedes this year. I'm really excited to see how they go. Let's head over to Aston Martin next. We've got Daniele Haddad making his debut season in PSGL, and then the king himself, as I know people like to call him, Shanika Clay in Aston Martin. A star-studded lineup of esports potential for these guys. Of course, Daniele Haddad, I believe he's been in the scene for quite some time, I think since 2019, and I know that Shanika Clay was very famous on the Xbox side of things, so we've really got to watch out for these guys. Let's head over to Haas next. We've got John Evans himself and Mattis van Erven. Mattis, of course, needs no introduction. He was in a part of the Haas team last season and was definitely the shining star that was that team. And then we've got a bit of a rookie in F1. He really has improved on his pace. We've got John Evans himself. We heard from him earlier. He sort of already mentioned that he was in F1. Here he is, a part of the Haas team. And then we move over from one interviewee to another, because we've got AlphaTauri next. We've got a race winner in Joni Tormala, and alongside him is Wilson Hughes. So I'm really excited to see how these two get along. We saw them, of course, last night in the Invitational event, and they were fighting right at the front. and we'll go over to Alpine next. We've got Fabrizio Donoso, of course, a part of his esports team, and then we've got Simon Weigang joining him alongside in the Alpine team. Two very impressive and experienced drivers. Of course, Donoso winning a race last season at the ever controversial Austrian Grand Prix, and he was able to snatch it from under everyone's noses. Simon Weigang is joining him, and we'll head over to Red Bull, which could be possibly the most creepy thing you'll see today. We've got Nicolas Longuet, and then we've got a half and half mashup of Marcel Kiefer and Liam Parnell. Of course, both are part of the Red Bull team. The esports team itself, they'll be, I assume, sharing that seat. Nicolas Longuet will be in that car as well. So really excited to see how those guys get along. And I'd imagine we could be seeing some dark horses for the constructors. You know, you think Mercedes might have it wrapped up, but I certainly think improving from 6th is very likely for this Red Bull team. And someone who will want to improve on their positions as well will be both of the McLaren drivers. We've got Josh Idowu and Barry Burramand lining up in the McLaren. I'd say this is probably one of the highest potentials that we have. Two very young drivers and who've still got a lot of talent left in them. We saw Barry Burramand win last night in the invitational event with his stunning pole lap, which blew everyone else out of the water. And of course, esports pole sitter of Josh Idowu alongside him there. So really excited to see how those two fare. Headed over to Alfa Romeo next. We've got F1 esports driver for the Alfa Romeo team, Timon Shooter, joined alongside by Jake Benham, and we've got to be very, very excited for these guys. Of course, Shooter was the youngest driver on the grid last season, and then Jake Benham, I'd actually like to mention on the PSGL, on the esports grid, that is. And then Jake Benham, of course, not old enough to race in challenges, but if he was of age, he would certainly be able to fight right at the front and get into esports. What a grid we have seen from these two. And then we are headed next over to Ferrari, where we're seeing two new rookies. In PSGL, we've got Danny Berezne, and then we've got Brendan Lee. Of course, Brendan Lee, two-time esports champion all the way back in 2017. I believe that's the same year that a certain PSGL league director was a part of the esports scene. And then Danny Berezne, he needs no introduction. The heaviest breaker in all of esports history. Those two going to be tearing it up at the prancing horse at Ferrari. And the final team we have got to unveil is the Williams roster of Alvaro Carreton and Michael Romanidis. Alvaro Carreton was racing last night, and he was on an alternate strategy with Jarno Opmeer. And of course, those two, we saw what they were capable of doing when they were in the right conditions. They were lethal. Then, of course, Michael Romanidis, a very young and hot, prosperous driver in the F1 esports team. But I'm really excited to see how they get along. And here we see the entire grid on display. How about that, folks? Connor, let's get your thoughts here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've probably, similar to last season, somehow, despite the esports season being done and dusted, we've sort of delivered a quality grid full of top drivers, young stars like Jake, John, and Wilson. But yeah, I mean, Jarno Opmeer is the man to beat, and I think there's only one man that can stop him, and that's Barry. I think Barry Burman is the only man who can stop Jarno in PSGL, I'm afraid. So come on, Barry, let's have it. I know you're amazing qualifying, so hopefully you can, give us a good show and hopefully another title showdown. But yeah, an amazing grid, amazing drivers. Let's hope they all just turn up. That's all I want. So yeah.
Yeah, of course, back in season 28, the heyday of the PC PSGL reign, we had Barry and Jarno fighting for the title. Of course, Jarno coming out on top to become the inaugural PSGL PC champion. But I think Barry is going to be seeking a vengeance, especially after the performance we saw last night. But Mark, I'll head over to you now. How are you feeling about this grid? And who are you thinking is going to be a bit of a dark horse this season?
Well, I think the two Ferrari drivers, I think they could definitely be, combined the dark horse to win the Constructors' Championship. I'm sure the Mercedes duo probably go into its slight favourites, despite Boromand's quality at McLaren. The big news this week, of course, the shock departure of Nicolas Longuet from from Alpine and now ending up at Red Bull, which looks a little weird to me, having seen Longuet at Alpine for so long. But yeah, I mean, there's some serious quality there. I mean, to get Brendan Lee on the PSGL F1 grid, it just seems bizarre to me because he was on one of the early esports stars. So we got the two drivers who have won 4 of the 5 official esports championships so far on the top grid at PSGL. And Williams, Alvaro Caraton and Romanidis, they've been a duo for a long time. Very experienced, very quality drivers, and on their day they can be a match for anyone. There's just so many different drivers on this grid who can win races because the depth of this grid is absolutely crazy. But there is that sort of, as Connor alluded to, that sort of younger generation that is starting to come through, like the Jake Benham and Wilson, etc. So I think this season has a slightly less predictable hint to it than season 29. So I think we could get a top 5 that looks quite a bit different to last season.
Yeah, of course, everyone's improving and getting quicker every single day. I'd like to just quickly run through the reserves that we've got lined up. They haven't got a graphic, but we have Alessio Di Capua, Patrick Sipos, Dario Yamulo, Ruben Vallejo, Tomek Paragic, Samuel Bean, Louis Welch, and Dylan Warren. What a grid we are about to witness! And you know what? I think I'll drop it over to Connor, and I'm actually just going to ask a quick question. Who's your top 3 for this season going to be?
I'm gonna go Barry for the title because I think
Wow.
Yano is going to be a bit committed with some other projects like R Factor or Formula E and that. So yeah, Barry, Yano. Then I think Danny will miss a couple of races, but I'm going to go Danny Moreno third.
Well, that is certainly the interesting prediction there. What about you, Mark? How are you shaping the top 3 to be?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Boromand in the top position, Opmir in second, but I'm going to go for Beresne in third place.
Okay, of course. Daniel Beresne making his debut in PSGL in the Ferrari alongside his teammate of Brendan Lee. I'm going to go with, I think, the boring prediction of both Barry Boromand winning the title and then Jan Ortmir alongside. But you know what? I'm going to be a bit of a contrarian to you guys. I think Jake Benham is going to come in third. He was, I think, in the top 5. I think he was 4th last season. Now he's got a bit of experience under his belt, and he is getting quicker and quicker every single day. So I think Jake Benham is going to finish in third. But with that being said, you can catch this star-studded lineup of incredible talent on every team and every corner that you look in. You can catch them at on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. commentated by myself, Dan Field, and then Ginger Andy coming in to PSGL for the first time. And well, after yesterday, I really got to see firsthand what kind of a commentator Andy is, and he is damn committed. That guy, he really can commentate.
Yeah, it was an excellent first stream, to be honest with you. I think the chemistry was there. Obviously, a few technical issues, but I think Andy is a legend. Like when I was racing, Andy was sort of, Andy and Mark was sort of, the creme de la creme in terms of commentary. So, it is very nostalgic and great to have Andy in PSGL after all these years.
Yeah, I mean, it's long overdue, in my opinion, that Andy be in PSGL. I mean, he's been pretty much every other league you can think of, and he's done an outstanding job. In fact, I've even met the guy in person during F1 Spanish Grand Prix weekend in 2019. So he's a top guy. I mean, he can drink a lot more than I can, that's for sure. But yeah, I think from the race we saw last night, already hitting the ground running himself and Dan, of course. So yeah, I mean, of course, we have to remember how well the team led by George Morgan did to kind of kick off the PC era, as it were. We'll never forget their contributions, what an outstanding job they did. But yeah, I think looking at the commentary teams on the PC side, I think, they're the best possible duo to replace George for this season, for season 30.
Well, I'm very pleased to hear that from you, Mark. There, as we'll wrap it up Very quickly here, though, I'll just do a quick little rundown of the grid once more. Jan Ortmir and Danny Moreno at Mercedes, Liam Parnell and Marcel Kiefer alongside Nicolas Longue at Red Bull, Daniel Beresnay and Brendan Lee at Scuderia Ferrari, Barry Burman and Josh Adowu at McLaren, Daniele Haddad and Shanaka Clay at Aston Martin, Simon Weigang and Fabrizio Donoso in the Alpine, then Wilson Hughes and Yoni Tormula at Alpha Tauri, Jake Benham and Timon Shooter at Alfa Romeo, Michael Romanidis and Alvaro Caraton at Williams, and finally Matthijs van Erven and John Evans at Haas. But with that, that is the end of the show. I really hope you are all happy with your places if you have been placed tonight. But it was a brilliant thing to be a part of today, and I'm really glad to see how these grids are shaping up. So I'm not too sure what much else there is to say. I think I'll pass it over to Connor or Mark. Indeed, if there is anything else to say, then I think the time is now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, thanks to everyone for your continued support on PSG. I know it's been, like I said at the start of the show, it's been bigger than and better than ever. The grid is quality in PCF1 terms, but also throughout PlayStation and also, obviously, the PC tiers. Well, just a quick shout out to my team. You know, I've got a great team behind me. It won't be possible with my full-time job, my, commitments in my private life and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, just thanks to Louis, Joel, Josh, Tees, Three Gloves, Jess on the commentary side, obviously Mark now with the video sort of stuff, and also CC Brain putting these graphics together, and obviously all the drivers and everyone who's been so committed to PSGL. So yeah, it's been a fun, let's say, 9 years, and hopefully there's not another 9 years, but who knows how long this journey will go. So yeah, thanks to everyone, and see you on the track on the 19th when the season finally gets underway.
And anything from you, Mark?
Don't miss it. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, the PC side, at least, it's just going to be absolutely outstanding. The top 2 tiers, so much talent, and I'm going to say, watch as much as you can, guys. I mean, this is as good as PSGL has ever been. We don't know how long this peak could be. I mean, you never know; it could be all over tomorrow. So we have to enjoy it as we can. Just take it in, all this outstanding racing to come, all this talent that we've got at the moment. We need to enjoy it while the peak is high. So really looking forward to it. Absolutely. So tune in next week for when all the action kicks off. 30 seasons of PSGL, unbelievable achievement from everybody. It's come a long, long way, and we've just got started, really.
Yeah, I mean, 30 seasons gone. Here's to the next 30, hopefully. But from us, that is all that we have to say tonight. Make sure you subscribe to the PSGL YouTube channel and you follow us over on Twitter for all of our updates in the coming days for the season beginning. That is Premier Sim GL on Twitter. And you can follow, you can follow Connor and Mark as well if you guys would like to drop your Twitter tags.
Yeah, at Big C _019.
It's Alamonda.
And you can find me over at Danfield F1 _. But from us, that is all. Thank you all for your continued support on PSGL. The other tiers will be revealed over on Twitter later on. But from us, it is thank you and good night. Stay safe, everybody.